rather than beating this horse, I would recommend that we probably have a meeting, Secretary Austin, if that's okay with you. Listen, I've been a judge advocate most of my adult life, and we've written this law in a way to make sure it applies to foreign nationals, Russians, involved in war crimes in Ukraine to help hold Putin accountable. Mr. Khan says we have a lot of valuable information that could accelerate his prosecution not only of Putin, but of others. Are you familiar with the Wagner Group, Mr. Secretary?
I am.
Do you think they're a terrorist organization?
I think they are a horrible terrorist organization.
Well, I'd like to prosecute them too. So what I would like to do is meet with you and your team to make sure that not only you follow the law, but you understand the benefit of this legislation to help this war effort. So, General Milley, what do all those stripes on your arm mean, on your right shoulder, right arm there, those white stripes?
Each one represents 6 months in combat.
Okay, since 9/11, how many years have you been away from your family?
7, 8, 9, probably about half the time. Before
Is that
Chief 7.
more typical than not for people in the
No,
military?
it's actually very typical. I think my peers and those probably senior NCOs at this point that have been in this thing since 9/11 have probably spent year on, year off, or half the time basically deployed to either Iraq or Afghanistan in combat.
Well, I hope you get to spend some time with the family, and thank your family for their service to our country. Let's go to Afghanistan right quick. Based on the withdrawal of Afghanistan, our withdrawal in Afghanistan, General Kurilla said that, as Senator Collins indicated, 6 months we could be attacked without warning. Is that fairly accurate statement from your point of view?
18 months ago, I actually testified and said 12, 18, 24, 36. I bounded it like that. So what Kurilla had said in his testimony, that's within the ranges that I had mentioned as well. So absolutely. I mean, look at our ability to monitor and track terrorists in Afghanistan is less than it was with boots on the ground. True. But we still have the ability to monitor.
I know, but let me just ask this right quick. Are we less safe than we were before?
I would just say that the United States military is committed to continue to monitor, track, and, if necessary, action any terrorist threat.
I would just say we're less safe. So Putin, if he wins, perceived as winning, what does that mean for the world? If he's perceived as having lost, what does that mean for the world? And is there a correlation, in your view, between success of Putin or failure of Putin and China's likelihood to invade Taiwan?
I think that the Chinese are watching the war between Russia and Ukraine very carefully. And I think for Ukraine, obviously, it's an existential threat for their very existence. But for Europe, for the United States, I think the issue is about a rules-based international order. And I think that what Putin has done is an illegal direct assault on that order. And if he's allowed to succeed in that, China will learn certain lessons. And it may not be the single decisive point, but I think it'll calculate into their decision-making process as to whether or not they attack to seize the island of Taiwan. So I think the outcome of Ukraine is critical to much broader issues than just Ukraine.
And if Putin is seen as having lost, does that make America safer?
I think it does, because I think that loss being defined as Ukraine remains a free, independent, sovereign country with its territory intact. If that is the end result of this war, then I think Putin will have failed in his attempts to take Ukraine and undermine that rules-based order. And I really think that order, which has been in existence for 8 decades now, since the end of World War II, that's critical to global stability and world peace.
Okay. Mr. McCord, in 2033, under this budget, how much will we be spending on defense in terms of GDP?
Senator, we have been in the 3 range for quite a while, and we'll probably be right around 3 at the end of the process.
Well, my information says 2.5, so check that one out, see who's right, okay? The Navy, real quickly, thinks they need 370 ships, 373, and to get there, they have to spend 5% above inflation. Do you agree this budget will not allow the Navy to get to 373 ships?
Within the fit-up, we will not be at that number.
Yeah, because we're spending under inflation. So real quickly, Mr. Chairman, there's a bunch of scenarios. None of them are really good. The House budget, 2022 plus one, is about a 14% cut. Is that right, Mr. McCord?
I'm sorry, the House.
Proposal of 2022 plus 1%. What would that mean to the military? How many dollars would be lost?
In this year, it would be about 100 billion below our request.
Okay.
Over 5 years, it would be about 600
Okay,
billion.
so a CR is a loss to the military, right, General Secretary Austin?
That's right, Senator.
Okay. This budget puts you below inflation, so the committee's task is to reject all of this stuff and come up with a number that keeps us safe.